Good morning, this is Avraham Shira for the Chabura of Nahar Shalom. We are continuing with some of the ideas we learned yesterday from Likutei Moharan, Tinyana, Torah Vav, Torah Zion, paragraph Vav. And just as a recap, we've been learning about how the das, the knowledge, the awareness of Moshe Rabbeinu is spread through the leaders of the generation into the Jewish people, and how each person receives the das that he can receive, and that a true leader is the one who knows how much to give to each person. And every person, the Rebbe says, must work in this process of sharing his das with others, because that's the basis of the continuity of Judaism. That without receiving Torah and giving over Torah, we break the chain. And this is a long chain, and it's thousands of years old, and there's a reason. Because this is our tradition of prophecy from God. And if it's from God, we assume that it's true. Anyways, so the Rebbe begins, through a person engaging in this process of sharing what he's learned, and another person receiving that. He is spreading his das with Yirat Shamayim, with awe of heaven, and creating students, new students of the Torah. A person will receive new transcendent intellect. Now he's going to explain how that happens. Orot makifim, transcendent intellect, means, he tells us, Da'inu shezochei la'avin ledam ma shelo haya mevin v'yodea mitechila. He understands things he did not understand before, which is a very interesting idea. It seems a little bit counterintuitive, that by sharing what I know, I actually can begin to understand what I don't know. How could that be? He goes on to case, Ki masha adam mevin masig v'sichlo ze b'chinat pnimi, because what a person already understands is called orot pnimi, the internal lights. The present understanding you have of life, of God, of Torah, of your family, your friends, etc. That's called the inner lights. Ki ze ha'seichel nichnas l'toch seichlo, aval ma she'en yochol lechanas l'toch seichlo, da'inu ma she'i efshar la'avin, ze mekinat makifim. Now, what has not yet entered into a person's intellect, what he is yet to understand, what seems distant and far from him, these are called the orot makifim, the surrounding intellects. The surrounding intellects are close to him. They're not far away. And you know, I once noticed on the medieval paintings, they put these little halos around some of the characters in the paintings. And I thought those halos that they're painting, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, they're really just symbols of these transcendent intellects that shine above a person, but he has yet to understand them. Now, to take it one more step further, so we can understand further, the Zohar says the entire world is structured like an onion. An onion, layer after layer after layer, from the central point within the onion, outward, further, constantly expanding. And this structural model of the universe as an onion really serves us well to understand how our minds are put together. That we have an internal understanding and we have an external understanding. And as we travel through the onion, we are receiving new intellect all the time. But things have to take place to receive that new intellect, and the Rebbe is going to describe that further. Okay, so these makifim, these transcendent intellects, it's something that surrounds his mind. And he's not able to grab it. It doesn't enter his mind and his understanding. Now, anybody who's worked with these kind of ideas, who's learned Torah, taught Torah, and it's true, actually, whatever you teach, whatever you learn, there's a time where you have to put the book down because you just can't get it. You have to let your mind rest. And it might be, physics, or it might be mathematics, it might be medicine. This is the way the mind works, that we receive new information and then we push off the old information. But in Torah, it's not the same as learning these other hard sciences, because it's not just amassing knowledge, it's amassing awareness. Now that's awareness of self, awareness of God, awareness of the Jewish people, the people around you. So it's a much broader concept of attaining new intellect. Okay, and but there is a stage where we can't receive anymore. We have to take a break. And then oftentimes you'll say, close the book, get a cup of tea, say a few words of prayer, ask for help, reopen the book, and suddenly you get it. Now, elsewhere, the Rebbe says that we must go over and over the teachings that we have if we want to see new insights. And these are also an aspect of new insights. What is new to you might not be new to somebody else, but that doesn't matter. What's important is that you are renewed by what you learn and what you understand and what your mind begins to grasp. Okay. This new knowledge surrounds his intellect. It's impossible to enter into his present state of mind. It's impossible for him to understand it. It's slow, because by this person, it's a certain layer of the onion that he has not yet to reach. But when we are working, speaking to people with Torah ideas and sharing them, and then he shares his das with somebody else, this is the important part. That by speaking words of Torah to somebody else, we actually empty our minds to receive new ideas, new Torah, new comprehension of God. So you see, this is not like every other wisdom and understanding, because the world is full of the knowledge of God at every level of human perception. But we are on, each of us, a different rung of the ladder of perceptions. So the only way that I can really receive a new understanding of the world and of Hashem and the Torah is by first giving over what I already have. And through this, that transcendent intellect that was beyond me now goes in, and it fits very nicely into my new perception because I've made room for it. So through emptying his mind, his intellect, that by speaking his das to his friend, then that transcendent mindset enters his internal comprehension. And then he understands that thing, that transcendent thing that he did not understand before. So he understands the thing that he did not understand before. Now, this understanding of how our minds work is a pinimi too, or a transcendent, depending on where you are in your own learning of these great rabbis that gave us these teachings. Again, but it doesn't really matter where you are. It's just as long as you're climbing. You don't want to get stuck in the onion, right? You want to keep moving because it's infinite. And there are endless levels of knowledge of God. And when we leave our bodies after 120 years, give or take, guess what? You have a new, completely renewed awareness of the oneness of God. But even in heaven, there are transcendent levels that human minds have not reached. And there are those that we can reach. So we have to understand that, understand the structure in which we live intellectually. And it's not intellectual, again, like a dry system of knowledge. This is living knowledge. This is knowledge that when you touch it, it either transforms you or it pushes you away. So that's something else that we have to pay attention to. If I start having negative attitudes towards Torah, that means I haven't made room in my mind to receive something new. that means that I'm still stuck in some intellectual plane. And, it's a bit painful to see it, because I know people that think they've reached a certain level and that's it. Okay, enough, Torah. I reached my level. I'm religious. What do you want from me? I've heard that many times, and I'm sure I felt that a few times over the last 30 years. But really, that's just a sign that my mind is stuffed and I got to empty it out, and I have to give it over to somebody else, or share it on a piece of paper, or talk to my kids or my wife or anybody. And of course, though, they need to be listened. We need to be listened to in a proper way, as we've been speaking in yesterday and the day before, that if we speak to someone who doesn't want to hear, it's worse than being quiet. All right. But there are many levels of makifim. The Rebbe continues, Ki ma shemakif lezeh hu b'chinat pinimi etzel havero. Because that which is given over from one to another person, it is a pinimi thing that you speak, what is inside you, it becomes external to another person. And so the person that's speaking, the higher das, is at a higher level at that moment, and then he gives that over to somebody else, and so his external intellect becomes internal, and the person who spoke, he receives a new internal intellect. And so too, upward and upward. And there's always another level of transcendent intellect. And for one person, what's transcendent and new to one person is he learned it a long time ago. So it's not new to him. Because he's very much higher than the person he's speaking to. And through speaking to your friend about the awe of Hashem and what you've seen lately that's awesome to you. It could be a little thing that happened, a phone call at the right time and place. You need a tool, and suddenly there it is. Someone brings it to you. Whatever it might be, when you share these little things that happen about Yirat Shamayim, it actually expands the other person's knowledge and makes room for new expansion in your knowledge. And therefore, the external intellect becomes internal by the next person. And so too onward, upward, as we climb the ladder. So each person is receiving that which was penimi, and he gets a new makif, and so on and so forth. Now the Rebbe is going to explain this famous pasuk, because the thing is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart to do it. Because the words ki karov elecha davar me'od ayinu lekarev elecha davar shu bechinat me'od. That is to say, the thing that is transcendent to you is actually very close to you. It's just not entered your awareness and your understanding. This is bechinat makifim, and this is that's transcendent. Shehem ne'elamim rochokim me'od ben adam, because these are hidden and they seem very far from a person. And we have to draw them closer and enter them into our present understanding. How do we do this? In your mouth and in your heart to do it. So you see, the Rebbe takes this pasuk that's been spoken of many times in many contexts, and he sees in the pasuk itself a rendition of the teaching that we've been speaking about. And this is also connected to another verse, my mouth will speak wisdom, and my heart will contemplate understanding. So these are two parts of the process, right? Speaking wisdom, and then you see how the verse is structured. By speaking wisdom to your friend, your heart can contemplate understanding. But first I have to make room in my brain by sharing what I have. Now this is not so easy because not everybody wants to listen to us. So there's other advice the Rebbe is going to give about this. Now in your heart and in your mouth, just as we said, a person reveals his wisdom and his understanding to his students. And now the Rebbe jumps to another whole level. He says, when you engage in this process and you're sharing what you have learned with somebody else, this la soto, he says, reflects back on the speaker making the listener. It's as if he made that person. And by doing so, he can draw closer the transcendent understanding that he is yet to have. Shem bechinat ma'od, which ma'od means very much. And so the very much of intellect is that which we don't understand. But we bring them inside us by first again speaking to someone else. And then the Rebbe goes, and above all the other people in the generation, there are the transcendent intellect of the wise man of the generation. Now, the wise man of the generation is a nice phrase. Who is he? I get asked that question, and I'm like, well, it depends if you're talking about somebody who's still alive or somebody who recently passed away. It depends on what part of Judaism you consider yourself to be a member of, right? If you're Hasidic, or if you're Litvish, or if you're non-religious, or you're traditional, or there's so many levels of Jews, it's endless. And each person will tell you a different person is the wise man of the generation. But these are not ideas that are supposed to make us argue like, we're talking about soccer teams. We're talking about human beings. We're talking about the intellect of very wise, learned, dedicated people. But the spitz, the point of the pyramid, the top guy in the generation, he has the greatest makifim, transcendent awareness. Shuhu Rebbe Shebador, that he is called the rabbi of the generation, and through this Rebbe and leader of the generation, so his effort, just like we learned earlier about Moses, every generation has this person who is spending his time trying to share the knowledge that he has acquired of Torah into students and into people that listen to what he has to say. And then he receives those transcendent intellects bifnim. So he also learns something new about God. So there's no such thing as standing still. There's no such thing as occupying one space on the plane of awareness. We've got to be on the move. Because otherwise, it's like a stalled car. Where are you going? Nowhere. And you can't take anything in new, and when you give without giving over something that you already know, you're stuck. Now this is easy for some people, and it's hard for other people. Not everybody is able to speak Torah so well that other people want to listen to him. Sometimes people have a difficulty just in speaking. Sometimes people are shy. Sometimes people have not learned enough or reviewed their lessons enough to be able to share them. So what do I do if I'm one of those people? And a lot of people can reach that level very quickly. So what we do is we start small. We start on Facebook. We start on YouTube. No, really, you start with your children. You start with your wife. And now if your children and your wife don't want to listen to you, then you got more problems, which, Lo Elena, no one should know from. But really, it's a reality. There are husbands I know as a therapist. I meet many men. They're always frustrated. No one listens to their divrei Torah at the table. It's Shabbos night. You learn something. You want to share it with your family, and everybody's talking, and no one wants to listen. Well, as I said before, that's the time to learn to be quiet and listen to them. And if you listen with a true heart, Hashem will make an opening for you to be heard as well. But we have to learn that patience. We have to learn not to jump at the stender, to jump at the lectern to be the man talking. But let other people talk. And when they've talked, listen closely. When you give other people a chance to talk, then they get to empty their mind of what they have to say. And guess what? They have an empty space to receive what you have to say. So the central item here is patience. Patience when it comes to communication. Patience in listening, and patience when to speak. Okay. Now, we get a new definition. After all that we've said, these makifim, these transcendent intellects, Shalom, of this leader of the generation, hem bechinat arichut yamim v'shanim. They are an aspect of what's called long days and years. The long days means you live one day and you feel like you've done so many things. And it's been a wonderful day. It's a long day. You've prayed and learned and worked and shared and helped your family. And you've done so many things. By the end of the day, it seems like you've lived a week in one day. That's called a long day. And long years can mean actually the literal sense of becoming an elderly person, living a lot of years. But it can also be the accumulation of those long days into a long year where you've accomplished tremendous things in 1 year. And this is the idea of the intellects that the leader of the generation receives. Now, leader is not really the right word here because the Rebbe uses the word chacham. A person could be the wise man of the generation and not be a leader. But he does have this activity of sharing what he's learned with others. Now, there is a concept of the person who learns a lot and doesn't share. You know, we might call him a hermit, a recluse, a person who is unknown completely. He's hidden. But in Judaism, we have a concept of hidden tzaddikim, of the righteous people who are not famous, and they don't want to be famous, and they don't want to be known. Because they can accomplish more when they're hidden than when they're revealed. And I've known some famous rabbis, and, you know, their time is not their time anymore. There's people lined up outside the door day and night. And of course, they want to reach out to them, and they want to answer their questions, and they want to help guide them in all kinds of halachic matters. But their time is not their time anymore to go sit on the mountainside and cry out to God about all the things that need to be cried out about. You know, and if a person thinks, well, I'm okay, I'm good, my family's good, then he hasn't looked outside himself and looked at the world and looked at all the Jewish people. Think of all the people that don't even know about prayer. The people that they've heard the word prayer and they don't even pay attention. Who cares about prayer? That's what the religious do. And they don't understand that prayer is a transformative technique. It's a tool of becoming a renewal. We have to pray for those people. So we cannot become complacent. And if my perception is that everything's good by me, then you're obviously not connecting to the Klal Yisrael, to the general Jewish people, much less the whole 7.5 billion people on the planet who need to be prayed for as well. Okay, but this leader, this wise person of the generation, the transcendent intellect that he receives is this aspect of long days and years. And it's meant to imply also a concept of consciousness that is above time. There's a place in our mind above time. Time is like a template. You know, a template, like an architect will take a drawing and it'll be cut in plastic and then he'll put it on another piece of paper. A template is a structure that we apply to reality. It could be on paper and it could be in the thin air. And that's what time is. Time is a template that's created by the spinning of the sun, the earth, and the moon. And that's how we derive time. And we live in time. But actually, time is only a level in the mind. There are many places in the mind that are above time. where we are not affected by time. Now, for example, Shabbat is above time. And this evening we're going into Yom Tov. Yom Tov is above time. Now you say, well, wait a minute, Avraham, I have to be at shul on time. I have to be at dinner on time. I have to give my talk on time. Those things are true, but you're still above them. They're a tool in your hands. And I'm not a victim of time, and I'm not a servant of time, and I'm not a slave of time. I am a being from above time who uses time to accomplish what God put us here to do, was to fill the world with people of knowledge. And so we use time as a tool to create organization and to turn chaos into order. Because without order, we can't get anything accomplished. Go try to build a building without an architect, without all the drawings. And try to write a book without an outline. Wherever we're approaching the spiritual, the physical world, we need spiritual structure to apply to it in order that reason and understanding emerge from the thing that we're trying to create. Okay, so this Chacham, this wise man of the generation, he's definitely above time. And he's receiving new perception of time. And if we want to take it even further, there is the idea of traveling in time, of going forward and backward in time. And, I read a book many years ago called Psychic Warrior about the CIA secret remote viewing programs. And I almost wept because I said, this is exactly what the Kabbalists do. They have the ability to remote view. Of course, they're doing it in holiness. Now, the psychics that worked for the CIA and the KGB, etc., I can't judge them. I don't know if they're in holiness or not. And there is an aspect of holy goodness by non-Jews. For those Jews who do not believe so, well, just look at what Eliyahu Navi says. That I give witness, Eliyahu says, that every man, every woman, slave, servant, rich, poor, can receive divine inspiration, Ruach HaKodesh. And Ruach HaKodesh essentially means knowing what will be, seeing what will be in the future, and seeing what was in the past. So the psychic universe is one universe, whether you're Jewish or not. It just depends on how you access that realm. So this wise man of the generation, he's reached the level above time on a regular basis. Whereas some of us will reach it once a week on Shabbat if we're lucky, or on Yom Tov if we're lucky. Want to start? Start today. It's Chol HaMoed. How do we start? How do I reach above time? Stop looking at your phone. Stop looking at your watch. When you ask yourself what time is it, before you look at your watch, ask yourself, why do I need to know what time it is right now? Maybe my mind is above time. When you contemplate God, you're contemplating above time. So this is very important practice for people who really want to know the truth, for people that really want to enter the higher planes of their soul. And not everybody's there, and that's okay. Not everybody's meant to be there. It would get crowded in heaven if everybody was there. But really, I think we understand that we exist in a pyramid of soul, and this wise man of the generation is at the top of the pyramid, and each of us is on a different level in the structure, and we move up and down according to our deeds. So really, we look to these great people who came before us, who are around us, not because we want to worship them, God forbid, and not because we want to idolize them, but because they have marked a path for us to follow, to find our own connection to God. Nobody can give you their connection to God, but they can say, look, I've gone this way, it's worked for me. I'm willing to share with you what I have, what I've learned, where I've been, in order that you can follow too. It doesn't mean you're following me or anybody else. It means you're following the path of your own self, your own soul, with the instructions that the rabbis and the sages have given us. Okay. And he says now, in his perfectly precise Hebrew of Rabbi Nachman, Ki amakifim shelo hem bechinat olam haba. His transcendent intellect are an aspect of the world to come. The world that was, the world that will be, of course, that is the spiritual realm. Shehu yom shekulo aroch, because the rabbis define the above time place as one day that never ends. So that's another way to frame it, right? One day that never ends. That's the world to come. In other words, there is no time in heaven. There's no sleeping. There's no being tired. There's no being hungry. There's no being thirsty or any other things that we experience in this world. It's your pure soul receiving its life force directly from the divine presence. And when you receive your life force directly from the divine presence, you don't need to eat and sleep. You know, they asked the Lubavitch Rebbe, how do you sleep 1 hour a day? And he said, well, I just sleep faster. He condensed it down. So what you need 8 hours to sleep, he gets the same recharge of his batteries in 1 hour. That means he's approaching that place, that Yom Shekula Aroch, that day that is very long. Shehu Yom Shekula Aroch, and that's brought down from Masechet Kiddushin, Ki Sham Hu Lamala Me'azman, because there, that Rebbe, of course, that wise person is above time. Ki Kol Hazman Shokol Olam Hazeh Kulo, all the time of this world. In other words, from the beginning of the measuring of time, Ki Sham Hu Lamala Me'azman, Ma Shaya U'ma Sheyeh, that which was in the past, and that which will be in the future, Hu kulo ayin ve'efes neged yom echad. Still, all the future and all the past is nothing compared to now. Afilu neged rega achat shel olam haba. All of it, what was and what will be in human history, is still nothing compared to one moment of this level of the world to come, the world above time. Shehu Yom Shekulo Aroch, which is that day that is endless. V'sham ein shum zman, because there is no time. Kihu bechinat al mala me'azman. Again, he repeats the idea. It's above time. Rak seder azmanim sheyesham hem bechinat hasagot shel hamakifim. So now he brings us back to the previous concept. What are the levels in the world to come? How are we going to measure time after 6,000 years? I'll tell you how you measure things. Not by time. We measure things by your new perception of God and His greatness. And each step of the ladder is a new perception of His greatness. And once you get on this ladder, you'll see what I mean intimately. Because what I thought I knew yesterday seems like nothing compared to what Hashem gave me today. And I know that hopefully tomorrow on Yom Tov is especially the Yom Tov of Pesach, the day that the Jews celebrate. The seventh day of Passover is the day that we celebrate going through the Red Sea. I think people had a new perception of the greatness of God when they walked through the ocean, on dry land. So we celebrate that by learning all night tonight, and that level above time is measured by your constantly renewing your awareness of God's greatness. Okay. Sheyesh makifim shem bechinat yamim v'yesh makifim shem bechinat shanim, because there are comprehensions of Hashem through the filter of days and through the filter of years, which bechinat kufot hayamim, which are the periods of the days, which usually it refers to in the pshat, in the simple level of Torah, the setting, the fixing of Rosh Chodesh. And that, of course, means the fixing of the festivals according to the new months, and Rosh Hashanah, the new year. The Elo Makifim Sheyesham, and these transcendent intellects of the world to come, Hem Bechinet Seder Hazmanim Sham. Those are the ideas of time in heaven. In other words, it's really like, where is your seat in the stadium of the world to come? Are you right on the front lines? Are you right on the playing field of heaven? Or are you way up in the cheap seats, looking over a lot of other people in front of you? Well, most of us, I'm sure, are in the middle somewhere of that stadium of the concept of the renewal of our awareness. We've achieved something, and we've got a lot more to achieve. But nonetheless, we should understand that we're in that flux, in that movement of moving closer to the awareness of time above. And the Rebbe goes on to define it further. And the comprehension of these transcendent intellects, these are the essential, the pleasure and the ecstasy of the world to come. So, I remember people talking about taking a drug called ecstasy. And I'm saying, this is ecstasy? To take a pill that pushes your brain outside its level? This is not ecstasy. This is suffering. The real ecstasy is the perception of the divine presence. And if you don't believe me, once you have it, once you've had one moment of it, you'll understand how fallen the things of this world are, especially things like drugs. But people take drugs because they want a perception of the upper world. People take LSD because they want to know things about heaven. And those drugs are really like a little bit of stealing something that is not earned. But look, when you're not well, when you're suffering, God also provided us medicine. And He understands that young people that are suffering and they don't know if there's a God and they don't know who they are, they don't know what their tradition is, and they don't know if they're Jewish, and they don't know, what Christianity, they don't know anything. A lot of people, unfortunately. Because religion was pushed out of the schools, and they pushed religion out of the mind of man by doing so in America. And other places, I don't know. But I remember being a 10-year-old kid asking people about God, and people were like, what? What? You ask too many questions. That's what they said to me. So you can understand why I ended up here on a mountainside in Tzfat, or in Gush Etzion, or wherever. Because I wanted to know the truth. And that was more important to me than getting a degree in engineering or law or medicine. I did get some degrees, but, it's nothing compared to the joy, the ecstasy, the pleasure of the perception of the divine, especially down here in this world. So we could go on a long time about these ideas, but I am in the move. I'm in the festival mode, and the car is packed, and we are moving from Tzfat to Meron today. We're going to be camping there by the great author of the Zohar, Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. And, if you don't believe he's alive, well, learn his book a little bit. Because we're going to learn something very outrageous today. We're going to learn about the 2nd century prophet's vision of the Twin Towers, which is in Parshat Bishalach of the Zohar. So I hope to share that with you all before the festival begins this afternoon. And I'm not sure what time it will be, because I don't know when all the tents will be pitched and the tables will be out and the chairs and the barbecue and et cetera, et cetera. But at a certain point this afternoon, we're going to learn a little bit about why a sage can be a prophet and why a prophet can be a sage. Because being a sage means you have accumulation of wisdom. A prophet means God sends you a vision of what will be. And Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai saw that the Twin Towers and a third building were going to fall in New York City, but he saw it 1900 years ago, give or take. So look forward to seeing you then. Have a great day and enjoy the festival wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And we will talk to you later. All the best.